So I think we should be good to go on recording. All right. So Judge Patterson, if you wouldn't mind just starting off telling me a bit about your legal career and what areas of law you practiced in.
Okay. I came out, while I was in law school, I began an association with what was then Maricopa County Legal Aid Society. And I clerked for them for 2 summers and got a Reginald Heber Smith Law Fellowship upon graduation, during my senior year, to work at the offices um, immediately after leaving law school. I was admitted in 1971 and began practicing with the office initially out in Tempe at Arizona State. There was a legal services office in the law school
Oh, nice.
in the northeast, um, kind of northeast wing, which is now a courtroom, an office, otherwise office. And I did research and the usual stuff and studied for the bar while in that office. And moved downtown later that year, I think it was, to and Central and Madison. And I stayed there the duration of my time in legal services. Uh, I went in there with a sort of an indeterminate goal of tenure, meaning that I didn't have any idea of when I was going to leave, what I was going to be doing when I left, or anything like that. But it resulted in basically me um, deciding to leave after a year. What happened was the farm workers' activities in Phoenix picked up. We were representing some of the farm workers out on the west side, in Tolleson and Surprise and out that way. Um, we had some upheavals in the office. I won't go into the particulars, but we had some upheavals in the office, and it became very unstable for a young lawyer trying to find his or her footing. And so I left after a year, which was not, as it turned out, not particularly what I wanted to do, but it was better and more in my interest. Went into private practice, stayed a year. That was very unstable because people would come and talk to you, not bring you a retainer. People who could pay you a retainer were going elsewhere. So it wasn't lucrative. It wasn't even remunerative. And I went to the Phoenix Urban League in August of 65, I think it was, 75, excuse me. August of 75. No, 73. August 73. To practice housing and civil rights law. The HUD department had put out an experiment trying to find out what kinds of standards, guidelines, rules, procedures, what have you, could be adopted for public housing and for subsidizing housing expenditures. And I worked in that for a year and a half, actually, um, doing legislation work, helping draft legislation, negotiating with landlords, helping review some of the caseworkers that we had who working with us, who worked with the tenants. And it was a good experience. It was quasi legal, probably, because I never went to court, but I was doing a lot of the legal backroom stuff, drafting and advising and that kind of stuff. Um, that program turned out to be the Section 8 program that we know in the cities around the country now. as it rolled out and rolled into an operating program, it became a Section 8 program. And of course, we know that's terrifically successful and oversubscribed, actually, well oversubscribed. Another point is that experiment was only set up in 2 cities. Phoenix was one with the Urban League office here, and Pittsburgh was the other one. And we communicated regularly, fully, had meetings and what have you, so that we could make sure that we were on the same page as we move forward. Each unit had a lawyer and a sort of legal unit, and it had some counselors and people who would work with the tenants, and then an administration section. After that, program uh, terminated relatively precipitously. I got wind of, dying in a few months, and the rumor never stopped. So it quit. The program just disappeared. And I practiced 3 or 4 months at the Urban League, um, doing their housework for them and getting free room, free space. And my secretary worked for them part-time. And February of 75, I went to the public defender's office. And that's when my legal career began to blossom. Pure legal career, not, the hard practice of law began to blossom because I was in court every day, all day, trying cases, criminal cases, misdemeanors initially, then felonies, and all kinds of felonies from A to Z. About 1977, 76, 77, somewhere around in there was an uprising in the bar because of dues increase. And I got involved in that. And I got a chance to see the bar from a different vantage point. And in so being informed in that manner, I looked at the bench as a very real prospect. And that's when I began to make my move. It took me a couple of years, 9 applications. It was something new for the state of Arizona, let's face it. Arizona was lagging behind in this sort of diversity. Well, that's a toxic word now, but I can use it in any event. Um, and I began to make applications in late 79. No, early 79. And by early 1980, I was beginning to be, in my estimation, seriously considered. And by March, I was selected to go forward to the Governor Babbitt, March of 1980. And I was appointed Superior Court actually, I took my office in April of 1980. Served for 11 years, retired basically, and went to the AG's office. And I was one of Grant Wood's 3 principal assistants, criminal, civil, of course, the administrative section, administrative political section. And then I had a division called Human Services, in which we did all of DES, which is a behemoth, as you know. We had a mediation unit, which was under the Civil Rights Agency. And the third one was Civil Rights. That's what it was. The third unit was Civil Rights. And I stayed there for 4.5 years and enjoyed it thoroughly. But it was demanding because we were an energized office. And so I left and went to the Court of Appeals. um, and was able to take a deep sigh and relax a little bit. But the work was still there. And I stayed there until I retired in 2003. That's it. And I did some individual work for the first 10 years I was retired. What I did was a lot of personnel reviews for the city of Phoenix
Mm.
and some other jurisdictions. I did some I did some bid protests hearings. I did some what do you call them? Ethics inquiries where people would file a complaint against an elected official in a
Mm.
jurisdiction, and they would have an investigation accomplished and then receive a report back. And I did a number of those for several jurisdictions around the valley. So, my first 10 years retired were not actually retired. I was working fairly fully, but I enjoyed it. I was still had a lot of energy, still fairly young, and wanting to stay close to the profession. I miss the profession tremendously, but I realize that time goes on, and the new wave comes in, and we have to respect it, and we hope they respect us for what we did.
Mm. So are you officially retired now, or do you
Oh,
still
I've been
do?
officially retired now for about, probably 10, 12 years, 10, 11
Okay.
years. Yeah. Oh, I haven't lifted. I mean, right now I'm doing um, a probate, but it's for a friend who was a judge, retired here in the Valley. And it's not legal. I have a lawyer.
Nice.
I'm on retired status and have been for 12, 13. This is my 13th, 14th, 14th year. And so no, that's as close as I get to it. I'll go in and have interviews, have conversations with him, have interviews where I need, and that's as close as I get to it. I read the Arizona Attorney and the Maricopa Bar newsletter,
Mm.
paper, and a lot of it in it doesn't register with me. But I'm still reading. Still trying to stay
Mm.
fairly current with the profession.
Very nice. That's great.
Can't keep it up. And I see a lot of law firms' names that I don't recognize anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of law firms that I was formerly familiar with have merged, have reformed,
Mm-hmm.
reformulated, just a wide variety of things. And then I look for names, and I don't see any names of people, principally because they're like me, they're retired
Yeah.
or they're deceased now. I'm not ready to join that group yet.
Well, as you know, part of the goal of the interview today is to learn more about the Arizona Black Bar. And
Right,
you told me that you were one of the original three founders. So
right.
can you tell me a bit about how the organization was founded and why you and the other two founders decided to start up the Arizona Black Bar?
Um, Let me see. It was sort of beginning of my third year in law school. The two fellows that were ahead of me, Joshua Bursh and Charles Murray, and I had, we have familiarity with the National Bar Association, which is the national organization, the umbrella. Um, they had begun to get an idea about forming a local bar. And we began to talk about it during my senior year. Well, they were out in the real world and they had begun to act on it. And by the time that I graduated in 71, they had made all of the contacts gotten all of the paperwork and everything done. And we had formed, no, excuse me, we had organized a luncheon to kick it off. And they brought in a charter, and some representatives from the National Bar came in and spoke and talked about what the bar was doing. The circumstances which brought it, which kind of focused it, were the one of those two fellows, Charles Murray, had begun to have some problems past the bar. And he was up against the bar trying to petition, trying to get a reread, et cetera, et cetera. And it became clear that the effort needed some support, outside support. And that's when they began to become more active in trying to affiliate with the bar. Well, by the time I got out of law school and in 71, they had filed a petition um, to move forward with an appeal, and all of that activity was going on. And we got a clerk who was a law student back east somewhere to come out here at their cost to work on the case. And it began to formulate and kind of form in our office. We had Josh Bursh and I formed a law partnership in 72 or 73, but I was working in his office part-time at that time, just fiddling around, doing whatever he needed. We got our charter in 71, and the organization began to try to develop a presence in the Valley, because to that point, there had only been two African American lawyers in the Valley, um, Judge H.B. Daniels and Carl Stewart. There was one lawyer in Tucson at the time who's Ruben Salsa. You might know him, his son. They're down in Tucson still practicing. And so, it was also geared towards giving us some visibility, Black lawyers some visibility, so that would encourage young people who are coming along to look in that direction. It's not an impossible direction. There's a little hard work involved in it, but it pays benefits at the end. And so we were lucky enough to have people behind us coming along in law school. Not many. It was so pitifully few. I went through law school as the only African American in my class. There were two ahead of me, two behind me, two behind that person, those people. So, out of at minimum 100, I think 135, 140 law students entering in a class. That's not a percentage you can figure out as point something something. So, and it wasn't necessarily law school's problem or pause. The law school was trying to bring people in. They were in their formative stages, they scholarships within, and they were trying to grow a whole bunch of things at one time. And we tried to do things, the three of us, to support more African Americans going in. When we got into practice, I'm gonna say this, and I'll probably get chunked for it somewhere along the line, but we were an oddity. I would see people when I went to legal aid, um, 71, 72. People would stop and talk to me as a curiosity. They'd never seen anybody like me practicing. Carl and the judge were there, and they were out and about, but they didn't have the visibility. They weren't they were doing their thing, so to speak. And we'd go up to the Lawyers Club and we'd be very different focus or focuses at the Lawyers Club, that kind of stuff. And we knew it, but we kept plodding along because our purpose was to gain visibility, gain a reputation as responsible professionals, and to have an impact in the local community with regards to representing our people, not necessarily offering an alternative, because I don't really know how you offer an alternative to the laws on the books and the interpretations and what have you. But in the context of relating to people and talking to them in a fashion and at a place and time in a lot of cases where they felt comfortable and they felt like they could absorb the conversation which you were giving, you were having. So it was, I'm not gonna say wild and woolly at points, but I spent a lot of nights out in the street trying to get to know people, and that meant, and when I say that, I mean at meetings, uh, community meetings in Phoenix, I'm not from here, I'm from Virginia, Newport News, Virginia. And I was trying to learn the community, understand the people, talk to as many individuals that I could to understand what they saw as the issues here and what the community was like. So it was a long, ongoing process. Um, we gradually, we had a couple of judge advocates out at Luke Air Force Base who decided to stay here. Judge Logan, George Logan, who passed 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago rather. Um, Another fellow by the name of Sidney, shouldn't have mentioned his name. It'll come to me. I'll go on and talk and it'll come back to me. But Sidney got out of the service and stayed here. We had the law graduates staying here, and then our numbers began to increase. Um, um, 1980, I kind of backed away from it completely because I was on the bench. I went on the bench, and I would go to meetings. I paid my dues. I would participate in discussions on the various subjects that would come up. Um, we changed the name twice, as I remember. The initial name was Arizona Black. Let me see. Arizona Black Lawyers Association, ABLA. The second name was H.B. Daniels Bar Association. And the third name is the current name, which came about after a big, big discussion in the office, but it changed. I guess about 20 or so years ago. And the membership, I'm not familiar with the numbers now. I get the newsletter. I read it. I read the job opportunities, which are good to see, very good to see. Um, I know that we are scattered among the bar in a variety of large law offices now, which is very pleasant to see because when I came along, there was no soap. You find a job in the public service, or you go out and do a sole practitioner, or maybe you and a partner kind of thing. And again, that was building a practice. Um, when you have a family that you're supporting and you don't have a line of credit and or some means of support, meaning investments of some kind or large cases that you've settled or whatever, won in trial. It's not that easy. So you wind up going into government work, which was really actually quite rewarding for me anyway. Um, that's that's about as good an overview as I can give you at this point. You know, right off the top of my head.
That's great. Yeah,
Enjoyed my
thank you.
work, enjoyed the practice, enjoyed a lot of the people that I met. I miss them all, but like I said, time moves on.
Were there, at the beginning of the organization, were there specific challenges that you and the other founders faced, or um, were there certain things that you implemented to make sure that the organization would continue past your leadership?
Yes to both of them. As far as challenges were concerned, it was just establishing yourself as a responsible professional in the legal community and the community more at large. Um, it's a new, it was a new experience for the community. Um, my partner and I in 1972 decided to do something that was different. That was we were going to locate downtown in the main area of commerce, legal practice, government, and business activity because there was still a fair amount of business activity downtown. We're located on Central Avenue, just north of Adams, at the in the what is it? Great Arizona Savings Building. It's called something else now, but it's the second or third building north of Adams on the west side of Central Avenue. I think it's a restaurant in there now on the first floor, and Miracle Mile is next door to it, or was next door to it. But we located there purposefully because we wanted to be in the midst of the flow, legal, business, commercial, what have you, governmental, definitely governmental. Um, and the sheer what ability to locate there and to establish that practice there was intentional to show that we were there to stay. Um, Let me give you an aside for a moment. I went to a this is when I got on the bench. Went to a bar meeting in 1985, I think it was in Houston. And I was in the judicial conference meeting, council meeting. And they were going through the states. Who's here from here? Who's here from here? Who's here from here? All your new judges stand up. And I was 5 years on the bench by then, but I was still new to them. Um, I stood up. They called Arizona. And I stood up. And you could see the guffaws around the state because the state had that kind of I won't say backward, but slower reputation, a lot slower. And from I kept participating, and that outside influence helped us get, more well established. Um, and the presence, now from both inside and outside, things we've done here has established us. And then the follow on leadership, members, and all have really helped established the Arizona Black Bar as a permanent organization. I'm not going to say to be dealt with, but to be recognized as a group of serious, solid professionals.
Very nice. Can you, when you think back about the Arizona Black Bar, can you share 2 or 3 specific highlights or accomplishments that were really meaningful to you?
Mm. Accepting me, okay? Getting people, females particularly, into the law school was very important. It took us, and when I say us, I mean it was a whole bunch of us advocating for it. It took us about 5 or 6 classes to get a female law student, black female law student, to stay, to be admitted and to stick, go all the way through and graduate. It was tough, but we got one of it, and a lot of that was advocacy on an individual level by members of the bar. That's one thing that was really, really rewarding. Okay. Another was, let me see, the various members going on the bench. We've had not as many as I'd like to see by any stretch of the imagination, but we've had a fair number go on the bench. Not, like I said, not including myself. I'm talking about the others who have followed on, all of whom have done extremely well professionally. They were the great professionals. Um, they commended themselves very highly to both their professionalism, their work as they went through the work, to being community leaders, responsible community leaders, and somebody who is resourceful for the community. A third thing, oh boy, I wish I thought about this one a little bit. The viability of the organization itself. I think the organization is probably around for the duration. And I don't say that derisively, but like all organizations, you have your ups and downs. But I think that if you drew a line through the midpoint, you would see that we are well above the line of what failure, and we'll be around. We'll be here for some substantial period of time in one form or another. But we're going to be here because we've carved out an area of advocacy and presence that is probably not that fully occupied by anybody else. One, that has validity, number 2, and 3 has um, lots of resourceful people promoting it. And to the degree that you have all of that together and moving forward simultaneously, you'll survive. There's absolutely no question about survival because you'll be able to ward off any of the outside, they talk about barbarians at the gate. Well, you ward off all of them, or the ones that are consequential that'll cause your failure. One of the two.
It sounds like the members of the Arizona Black Bar are very committed to continuing on what you talked about at its founding, which is like visibility and trying to increase the number of Black Bar members and
Oh yeah.
both in the state of Arizona and in the organization.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 And that part of it has always remained strong. Um, the advocacy for the basically the underprivileged community, the blacks being a major portion of that community, or a large portion of it, if not major. Advocacy for people who are less fortunate um, than others, the unfortunate, the less fortunate. advocacy for just straight out minorities, you know, of whatever origin. Um, Advocacy for people who need legal um, assistance, regardless of who they are, Anglo, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native. If you need legal services, you are deserving of legal services, and we'll see what we can do to help it. We also, and this is sort of one of the points that I sort of live with day in and day out, and that is that I'm constantly looking for African American young people who indicate an interest in going to law school. I don't encourage people to go to law school because I know it's tough, having gone through it myself. But if you want to go, I will sit and talk to you about any of the issues that you have with regards to making a run at it. So, that's my own personal sort of flag that I wave. But it's one that I believe is also important in longevity for the profession, longevity for our part in the profession, and longevity for having substantial um, mm, having high standards for participating in the profession, because the profession requires significant standards, very high standards, because you're dealing with people's lives, you're dealing with people's money, and you're dealing with people's property otherwise, and you're dealing with their being, just as a human. So all of that's important. All that's, and you got to understand it. You really have to understand it and have an appreciation for it. You just can't brush it. Oh, okay, okay, okay. You just can't brush it off like that. It's serious.
Is there anything about Arizona Black Bar that you'd like the legal community to know that you don't think is commonly known?
Um, Commonly known. But there are a lot of people in the bar, and this is not peculiar, but I think it needs emphasizing from time to time. And that there are a lot of people in the bar who are just everyday people who believe deeply in the fairness and the equity. Equity, that's a bad word right now with the new administration. And also qualification for being extraordinarily good, strong legal representatives for members of the community. It's almost one of those things that goes without saying that people in the profession, in the bar, in our organization, are ones who believe that folks should be represented, and it should be represented competently and fully in their competence. And in so doing, they are there to provide it's a public service that's also a community service that is intended to be a benefit to everyone.
That's great to know. So not only does it offer membership for members of the bar, but a big goal is offering benefits and representation to Arizonans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, there's no question about it. It's open to everyone. The bar is open. This bar is not inclusive. It's not exclusive. It's totally available to everyone who desires to join. And it really has very few, and by everyone I mean who's licensed. It still, I think, requires a license to join, a
Okay,
legal, lawyer's license. Um, and it is, it's very near and dear to me because of the roles that it's played in my professional life and actually in my social life, because a lot of my friends have come through the bar. A lot of from my friendships, I should say, have come through the bar over the years. But since 71 when we started. So it means a lot, and I look at things and I'm not active, and I sometimes disagree, I sometimes agree. I'll stay in my place because they're the ones that are running the show now. I'm not.
got it. Very nice. You mentioned that the Arizona Black Bar both impacted your social life, the friendships that you made, and
Right.
your professional life. Can you tell me a little bit more about how it impacted your professional life?
Oh, when we first started out, there were about, I guess I must have been in the public defender's office. There were probably 5 or 6 of us who were practitioners around the city of Phoenix. And we would get together on Friday night for happy hour. And we'd have a bar meeting. And the bar meeting would be at a table with about 5 or 6 chairs. And people sitting around and having a drink. And there was one fellow whose office was below us in the building on the first floor. And we'd go down when quote, we call a meeting to order, unquote. We'd go downstairs, get him. He'd come up and join us. He'd be the sixth person a lot of times. And we'd sit there and talk about what happened during the week. That was our meeting. So when I went on the Board of Governors in 1977, we would have our meetings monthly. And so I decided I was going to try this and see how it works. I would say, y'all take it easy. I'm going to head over here to the Black Bar meeting and talk to folks there and see how it went this week. Everybody's ears would perk up and their eyes would get big. And where's the meeting? Who's there? Da, 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 da. That was awakening. And to some, a rude awakening that we had arrived to the point where we was more than one or two, and that we were, in communication with each other. Out of that came some good friends, very good friends. One of whom is still around, still practicing. Several have gone on, moved back, moved elsewhere. A couple of have died, but it was interesting the reaction I used to get when I said, "Well, I'll see y'all next month," or for the local ones, "I'll see you later next week." Um, and I we go over to my table every time I had an opportunity. But
Very
it's
nice.
presence, it's presence, letting folks know that you're there, and that has been accomplished. The people in charge now have been very good at making sure that we're involved in this, that, and the other.
Is there anything else about the Arizona Black Bar that we haven't spoken about that you think is important to talk about?
No, nothing more than the continued growth. Um, I love. One thing I do try to do is whenever a student comes here from another state, and this is not solely for them, it's also for the ones that are homegrown. I try to get them to stay here and get into practice. Stay here and take the bar exam. And jobs are not hard to come by. They're just not ones that are falling off trees for you. You know, it's not low-hanging fruit. Sometimes you have to really work at it, but they're out there. And just growth of the bar, presence of the bar, the import of its presence, taking positions where it can, and being a leader in our community are all very important to me. Very important. Because I think that's part of the essence of being a leader in the community, being a lawyer in the community.
That's great. That's awesome.
What department, what division do you practice in?
I'm in civil rights.
Oh, one of the units that I used to work
Yeah.
with.
Yeah. So it's great to hear you talk about your time here. And I mentioned that I saw you on some documents. It was
Yeah,
legislative history for the Arizona Fair Housing Act just last week as I was looking through. So yeah,
that's good. Keep the good work up. I
thank you.
enjoy watching you all. It's as close as
Thank
I
you.
can get to it anymore.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you
We
know
could.
Phil Austin? Did you
Who?
meet him at all?
Phil Austin?
Yeah, he was the director, longtime director of the Civil Rights Division in Phoenix.
I,
And he passed last month, and his funeral was this weekend. I didn't know
oh,
whether or not they mentioned anything about him or not.
yeah. Not that I've heard of, though. I will be in Phoenix um, later this week in the
Right,
office. So I'll have to ask
right,
around. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that.
right. He was a longtime director of the Civil Rights Division. He established a mediation program.
Oh, very nice.
He was the one that established that.
Very nice. Yeah, I know that's still, I believe it's still housed within civil rights.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's the
It
right way to
is.
describe it, but we do have team of mediators and
Right,
do
right,
great
right.
work.
Travel around the state and establish the mediation sites and what have you.
Yeah. I think a
Yeah.
lot of it is virtual now, but yeah, we still have,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, 25 years ago, it was just get out on Monday morning and go here, go there, and come in about Wednesday.
Wow. All right. Yeah. I
Okay.
don't know if you ever worked with Adam Glaser.
Excuse me?
I don't know if you ever worked with Adam Glaser.
I know the name.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of the mediation training
Right,
these days. So yeah.
right, right. Okay. Well, it's nice meeting you. Are you a U of A graduate?
I am. Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. And you went to ASU, so
Yes, I
yep.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's good. It's good. It's all good. We're
Yeah, it's
all
all
in the
good.
same boat.
Yeah. And it's
Rowing
nice.
in the same direction, by the way.
What's that?
I said rowing in the same direction.
Yes.
We're
And
all in the
I think
same
it's nice
boat.
to have gone to U of A and to be in Tucson and still be able to stay involved
Right.
with the school. So that's always nice.
Yeah. You know Judge Collins,
No.
federal district? He's senior status now.
Okay.
Yeah. Good friend of mine.
Very nice.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. I
Well,
really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me, and it's great to hear,
it's
to
my
learn more about the
pleasure.
Arizona
I hope
Black
it's been
Bar.
beneficial in some regard.
Yeah, definitely. We're excited to work on this project, and personally, it was great to hear about,
Right,
your career and accomplishments in civil
right.
rights and otherwise. So,
Yeah. I don't know that there are any people in the program now that I remember because I was around it when it first started. But
oh,
yeah, a long time ago.
yeah, the Bar Leadership Institute
Yeah.
specifically. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
it came about just about the time that I was retiring. So
Okay.
I followed and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, take care of yourself. Good luck, and I hope this has benefited you.
Thank you. Yes. Thanks again. I really appreciate your time,
Okay. We'll run
and
across each other somewhere along the road.
I hope so. That would be nice.
Okay. Have a good evening.
You too. Take care.
Sure. Bye-bye.